To Althea from Prison by Richard Lovelace. Richard Lovelace was born in 1617, the year after Shakespeare died, and lived until 1657. He was born into a wealthy family, but he was born at a time that there was trouble in Great Britain, as there were people who believed that they should be ruled not by a king, but by a parliament, an elected parliament. And the king, Charles I, disagreed with this, and so he believed that he was king by divine right, by God's will. And so there was a civil war that took place between the royalists and the roundheads, the royalists supporting the king and the roundheads supporting the parliamentarians. And Richard Lovelace was a cavalier and a supporter of King Charles I. Now, because of his support of the king, he was imprisoned for 7 weeks in the Gatehouse prison in London, and later he was imprisoned again for 6 months. He wrote this poem during his first time in prison. Although it appears at first to be a love poem, after the first stanza, the theme of freedom asserts itself ever more powerfully. And it's interesting because the Roundheads believed that freedom would come through Parliament, through a democracy. And Richard Lovelace believed that he would be more free under a king. And sadly for him, his king was assassinated in 1649. Let's unpack this poem, and as we do so, you can mark your copy, your paper copy of the poem that you should have in front of you. Let's look at it from the beginning. When love with unconfined wings. Okay, what does confined mean? If you're confined, you're imprisoned. So if it's unconfined, you're not imprisoned. So here love is compared to a bird, free to fly wherever it wants. And so this is a metaphor for love with unconfined wings, love that is not imprisoned, not confined, hovers within my gates. What are the gates? The gates are the entrance to the prison. And my divine Althea brings. So this is some think it's his fiancée. He was engaged to a girl called Lucy Sacheverell, something like that. But Althea is actually a Greek name which means healer, and it was a name often used to signify a girl. Divine of heaven. So Althea comes like heavenly embodiment of love, and love is unconfined, it's free, to whisper at the grates. Whisper, maybe visiting him in secrecy, maybe just in his imagination. And the grates are the bars of the prison cell. So that reminds us of the gates 2 lines before. So we have the gates and the grates. That's the concrete, real prison that he is in. But although he's in this prison, within the prison, in his imagination, there's a lot more going on. When I lie tangled in her hair and fettered to her eye. So here he has images of a different kind of imprisonment, that he's tied up, he's tangled in her hair, fettered, tied to her eye. So it's almost as though he's imagining a different kind of prison, the prison of love, which is actually a prison that sets him free. So he feels that within himself he is connected to love in a far more powerful way. He is defined by that than the prison within which he finds himself. And when he is thinking about these things, I lie tangled in her hair and fettered to her eye, the gods that wanton in the air, that means the gods, the birds that fly in the air without any purpose, they're the gods of the air, know no such liberty. So you would normally think that a man in a prison would look out at birds and see they are free, I am in prison. And yet when he looks out at the birds, he thinks, you do not know the liberty I have in experiencing the tanglement of love and being tied to the one I love. So it's a very interesting paradox where he basically his inner world is free, although his outer world is confinement. In the second stanza, we see the same pattern that there was in the first. In the first, we had when, and then again when, and then at the end of the stanza, no such liberty. And a rhyme scheme, A, B, C, D, C, D. But interestingly, he is focusing on something a little bit different in the second stanza. We expect him to continue with the theme of love, but no, something different is starting to happen here. The first line reads, when flowing cups run swiftly round with no allaying Thames. Well, there he's talking about a drinking party when people's cups are filled to alcohol right to the brim, and you have a round of drinks with no allaying Thames. That means no water added to the alcohol from the River Thames. River Thames is the big river that goes through the centre of London and represents England and perhaps even English politics. So we have a joy and a celebration, and we enjoy ourselves without our fellowship being diluted by the politics out there or by the River Thames, the water of the River Thames. So it could be an image there. Our careless heads with roses bound, our hearts with loyal flames. So this is a gathering of the loyal, those who are loyal to the king. And roses were associated with the royal families. There was another war called the War of the Roses, the different royal families. So our heads with roses bound. We are bound in loyalty to the king. Our hearts with loyal flames. Also loyal feelings and thoughts of loyalty to Charles I. And of course that's the reason that he is in jail. When thirsty grief in wine we steep. So here's a sense of their sadness that their king is not ruling the country, and they drown their sorrows in wine, wine with a capital W. They soak their sorrows in wine. When healths and draughts go free, so they toast each other and they drink deeply, and they're having a pro-king pity party. And in this state that they're in, drinking undiluted alcohol, celebrating their king and their loyalty to the king, he says, fishes that tipple in the deep know no such liberty. Tipple is to drink, also a sort of euphemism for drinking alcohol. But he thinks of the fishes in the deep, the fishes in the sea that can drink all the liquid that they would want to, all the water that they would want to. And he compares himself to them and says, they know no such liberty. They do not experience this liberty that those loyal to the king are experiencing. So once again, he is looking at his inner world and his inner experience of unity with others in the same cause, and the joy they have in drinking and celebrating together. When like committed linnets, linnets are songbirds, and committed could be caged songbirds. I with shriller throat shall sing. I will sing more loudly, higher pitch than the songbird. And what is he going to sing? The sweetness, mercy, majesty, and glories of my King. Well, that we would normally use for God. So it seems like he really worships Charles I. He's intensely loyal to Charles I. When I shall voice aloud how good he is, how great should be, enlarged winds that curl the flood know no such liberty. When he is deeply patriotic and towards his king and sings his praises, even the winds that are able to whip up waves, curl the flood, whip up waves, do not know the liberty that he has. So what is this liberty? Again, it's sort of a protest poem saying, my liberty is inside myself, and I choose my allegiance. And when I am able to choose what I believe and what I want to be loyal to, I am free inside. And again we see this pattern, when, and then at the end of the stanza, no such liberty. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for an hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. Now, the first two lines of this stanza have become quite a saying in English. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. These are just outward barriers. They cannot take away our inner freedom. Minds innocent and quiet take that for a hermitage. A hermitage would be when people actually isolated themselves on purpose to be living alone in order to meditate and contemplate. So if your mind is innocent and you are calm and quiet, you could consider the fact that you're in prison just a time of recluse and time to think about life, meditate on life. It's all in your attitude. If I have freedom in my love, if I am all right in my love life, as it were, and in my soul am free, I feel a freedom within my soul, then there's only one thing that is more free than me, and that is angels. Angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. So if your inner being is not imprisoned, you have the freedom of an angel. And you can interpret your prison in a different light. So this poem is an amazing protest song, and a song about freedom, the resilience of the human spirit despite outer circumstances. And it has often been sung as a song. It has been put to music because it's very lyrical. It has this repetition, it has a refrain that comes again. No such liberty. So, although it's dedicated to Althea, it's actually an act of rebellion. He's pledging allegiance to a king, and who would sadly soon be removed from power and executed. The main theme of this poem is a paradox: freedom and imprisonment. There are three different types of freedom. One is love, another is celebration and party, and another one is being able to praise the king. It's all ironic, as in prison, he is in prison because of his support of the king. And in the last stanza, if your mind and your conscience are free, so are you. And some people choose to seclude themselves in a voluntary prison, which is a hermitage. So it's all a matter of what your mindset is. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this poem. I have questions for you, which are on a PowerPoint presentation, or you can print out the paper and answer the questions and see if you can make this poem your own. There are also links to the poem being read very beautifully and the poem also being sung, because it is actually written in lyrical style as a song, and so it has often been sung. So if you'd like to hear those, open the links. Please answer the questions and post your answers to me. Thank you so much. Bye.